I want to bring in our all-star political panel again this morning. The host of Stacy on the Right, Stacy Washington, is with us this morning. Political analyst Mark Halperin, constitutional attorney Amir Benno, and Democratic strategist Mustafa Tamiz. We have got a great panel lined up for you on this Friday morning. I want to just talk about that National Guard situation. This sort of bubbling to the surface yesterday. Mark, we'll start with you. Were you surprised to see those images after everything that we saw in the Capitol 16 days ago, to have those people treated like that?
Surprised and horrified, and I think besides the mistreatment of individuals and the group as a group, I think it speaks to the fact that Washington writ large doesn't have its act together. After what happened on the 6th, you would think there would be procedures and processes and thoughtful care given to not only how to protect the city, but to protect and treat well those who are protecting the city, and that's not happened.
Stacy, this seems to be a bipartisan issue. Your thoughts?
I'm an Air Force veteran, and I remember some of the times, like when we went to Saudi Arabia, and they always had plans for us for staging. But that was a long planned out event, and we were rotating in and out of Saudi Arabia. And so that was, that was different than this. This was kind of cobbled together at the last minute. But I want to just point out that they didn't need 25,000 troops there. They didn't even need 10,000 troops there. Since it was a virtual inauguration, they maybe needed 5,000. So this is overkill, and they're scheduled to stay there until the end of the month, which is ridiculous. They should immediately be sent back to their individual bases and stations. They don't need to be there anymore.
Mustafa?
Look, I think we're all horrified, and it's not the first time this happened. This happened initially when they first came. They were lying down, sleeping inside the Capitol. Now they've been moved down to a garage. I mean, it's just this is not getting better. This is getting worse, and people have to be held accountable.
Amir, I think the concern was 16 days ago, we know what happened on Capitol Hill, and as much as we'd love to send those troops home, it makes sense around the inauguration to have the city secure. But this was an inauguration that I hope we never see again, what we saw 2 days ago. Occupied Washington, that's where we had an inauguration.
Yeah, the visuals were horrifying, and, we hope that this doesn't have to happen again. And, unfortunately, they've taken such slights from the Democrats who claim that, so many of them have these biases implicit in them, where they're going to be anti-Biden just because they're serving in the National Guard or because they're white. Now they're being relegated to the bottom levels of a parking garage. It's complete disrespect for the military, and it's tone deaf on the part of the Biden administration not to get ahead of this issue and to address it head on and try to do something to really reinforce the fact that that he's behind our men and women and our servicemen and women.
Mustafa, I can tell you've got a thought, but I want to move on to something else. We have a political analyst who had some strong words after watching President Joe Biden's first inaugural address 2 days ago. Take a listen.
I think this is one of the most unmemorable speeches I've ever heard. It was a string of things he said before, a string of cliches, and on the two most important points, uniting the country. I don't think he said anything specific to get the 74 million people who voted for Donald Trump enthused about his presidency. And finally, look, we've been 30 years with rock star presidents. Bill Clinton, George Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, whatever you thought of them, they were rock stars politically. This is not a rock star.
All right,
Brilliant.
So Mark, that's strong. Yeah, brilliant. I don't know who that guy is, but that was really something. Mark, I was surprised to hear that from you, especially if you flipped around watching the inauguration on Wednesday. The CNN, MSNBC, every network out there was just, they were panting after watching Joe Biden's inaugural speech. You feel differently. Why?
Well, look, I also said in those same remarks that it does represent Joe Biden's soul and his style, and he's not. But the reality is he's competing in a 500,000 channel universe, and he doesn't have the gift that his immediate predecessors all had, which is the ability to command the stage. I defy anybody to tell me what they thought the most memorable lines from his speech were. He talked about unity, but he didn't have specifics that I think changed the paradigm at all. The point of a speech like that is to change things, to move things forward. I just don't think he did, and part of it was the substance of the speech, but part of it is he's just not the same kind of spotlight drawing figure that his four immediate predecessors were.
Stacy, we all remember what Chris Wallace did during that first debate. It was Donald Trump versus Joe Biden and the moderator, Chris Wallace. After that inaugural, Chris Wallace said that it was the best he'd ever seen, and he's seen every inaugural address since John F. Kennedy. And John F. Kennedy's is like one of the most famous. Ronald Reagan's first, John F. Kennedy's, and FDR's when he said nothing to fear but fear itself. What are your thoughts on the caliber of the president's speech?
Well, in every inaugural speech, whether I voted for the person or not, I'm looking for them to stir the emotions that I feel as an American, because whether or not they're my candidate, they're my president at that moment, they've been inaugurated, and I'm looking for them to connect with me on a level that is purely American. He did fail to do that, but I didn't expect him to. He's not a great orator. He had all those plagiarism issues back on his first presidential run, and this is his, I think, fourth stab at it. So he's just lucky to be up there. So I wasn't looking for that, but I think a lot of people have their expectations set at a level that is not going to be met by Joe Biden. He's not a great speaker. He's not great with people. He has problems with space, personal space, invasions of personal space, especially with women. And so I think what we should just lower the expectation and treat this as it is. He is coming in to do a job for the Democrats. He's like a figurehead. Kamala's the real boss there, and behind her it's Barack Obama. Third term of Barack Obama. Now you understand the lay of the land. Expect that.
Yeah, people don't realize. Amir, I want to go to you, and then Mustafa will get your reaction. Stacey, you bring up some excellent points there. Amir, do you think that President Biden will be president 4 years from now? He'll be pushing 70 or 83 years old by that time.
I don't think so. And I just want to go back to Mark's point. What the most memorable line, I think, was when he was talking about the two competing tensions in America. One, he said, was American idealism. On the other hand, he said it was racism and nativism. So in his formulation, anybody who supported Donald Trump, anybody who didn't support him, 75 million people, are racists and are bigots. And I think that was really perhaps buried under all of these sort of hollow cliches that he was using. That was perhaps the most salient point that he was making in his unity speech and got overlooked by most people. But no, to your question, Rob, I don't think that he will be.
Mark, your thoughts?
Well, and he believes it. I don't think that line was in there accidentally. That's what he believes.
For posterity,
right.
too. But these speeches, people, historians, journalists, we go through these speeches years and years later. No one remembers Lincoln's first inaugural. Everyone remembers his second inaugural, 1865, not long before his death. And that was notable because everything that was going on in the country. I thought that the opportunity that Joe Biden had the other day was to unite the country and not use terms like white supremacists, white nationalists. It's why would you alienate a third of the country, the 74 million people that voted for President Trump, that feel passionately and that feel disenfranchised? Mustafa, let's get your reaction.
And I'm a lonely voice on this panel. 7 years ago, Donald Trump started his speech as American carnage. We came from that to just 2 days ago. We heard a man that said, I'm a president for each and every person, including the people that didn't vote for me. His speech was about unity, and we keep talking about his health. He's not that much older than Donald Trump, and at least he can pick up a glass of water without his hand shaking and using the other hand to help him.
Yeah, but Mustafa, come on.
Look,
Mustafa, the difference is between President Trump. This is a man with robust energy that nobody on the left or right has questioned the president's senility. These questions about Joe Biden, it's like the big little secret in Washington. The difference is, Mustafa, I'm going to give you a second to react. I'll give you a second. But I just think that Joe Biden spent half of his campaign in his basement and used COVID as an excuse. He can't hide anymore from the American public. Now he's commander-in-chief. Go ahead.
There are lots of people that question President Trump in terms of his mental capacity. They have from the beginning. If you disagree, Google it. You will find it. He's had ranting and raving 2-hour press conference, and nobody understood what he said. This whole notion that something's wrong with Joe Biden is political spin. This person is been in public life for 50+ years. He has been a successful senator. He's been a successful vice president. And now he's the president of the United States. He is the person who's had the most experience in leading this nation. He gave a compelling speech that brought this nation together, and he started the process of healing this nation. These are undisputable things. We can talk about semantics back and forth, but everything else is just political spin. Joe Biden is the American president, and he has gone off to a great start.
Stacy, your reaction?
Well, Black America would disagree. Joe Biden has been in D.C. longer than I've been alive, and I'm a mom with college-age kids. And I'll tell you this, he has not been a successful senator. He has not had policies that we can look back on. He doesn't have a signature piece of legislation that he passed that benefited Americans. And Black Americans specifically are still suffering from the impacts of the 1994 crime bill, in which he called Black Americans natural-born predators. So he's the president of the United States. No one's denying that. You won't find any of us on the right, even though we're racist, saying he's not the president. But that man, not a success. He's barely in there, and he's lucky to be there, and we need to lower our expectations.
The oldest man ever to take the oath of office. Mark, hold on. I want Mark to jump in there.
7 million more people voted for him. 7 more people voted for him.
Well, hold on. I don't think, Mustafa, so 74 million people voted for President Trump, and I think you could argue that 81 million people didn't vote for Joe Biden. They voted against President Trump. I don't know if there's 81 million Americans that were...
President Trump, and people are willing to vote for him against him in that record number.
Mark, let's let you weigh in.
Just 2 quick points. First, on the issue of Joe Biden's health, I think when the truth of what's happened over the last year is revealed, someday people will be stunned. And second, Joe Biden is banking his presidency not on ideology, but on competence. And his claim is that once he fixes the economy, once he addresses the pandemic, that will unite the country. That's a big bet, but it's in its times of partisanship, maybe a good one, but he's going to have to deliver. And right now, delivering requires Republican cooperation. So it can't just be about unilateral party competence. It's going to have to be about figuring out a way to get Republicans to buy into some of his ideas, particularly on the pandemic.
And Kamala Harris may be one of the most consequential vice presidents we've seen in a long, long time. Panel, we got to leave it there. We'll be back right after the break. We appreciate